Hello, I invite you to the first episode of the new series, The Executioners. Episode titled, Amon Göth, known as the Executioner of Plasso, is one of the most terrifying figures of World War II. Let's start. Amon Göth, known as the Executioner of Plasso, is one of the most terrifying figures of World War II. His name evokes fear and serves as a reminder of the darkest depths of human nature. As the commandant of the German concentration camp in Plasso, near Krakow, Göth embodied terror, brutality, and unrelenting cruelty. This story, based on historical facts, delves into the chilling reality of his actions. The shadow of Plasso. Darkness fell over Plasso. Among the sprawling barracks surrounded by barbed wire, the silence was broken only by the howling of dogs and the echo of German guards' footsteps. On a hill stood the villa of Göth, a man whose name was whispered, as if uttering it aloud could summon his wrath. Göth, tall and perpetually armed with his pistol, watched the camp from the terrace of his villa. From there, he had a perfect view of the roll call square and the desolate expanse of human despair he had meticulously created. It was a scene of hell shaped by his sadistic artistry, every detail curated to maximize suffering. The God of the Camp. To the prisoners, he was called the God of the Camp, not out of respect, but because he held absolute control over their lives and deaths. Göth decided who would live another day and who would be shot without trial. A mere glance, slow movement, or an expression he disliked was enough to seal a prisoner's fate. One of Göth's most terrifying traits was his penchant for killing for amusement. Standing on the terrace of his villa, he would shoot prisoners as though they were animals in a hunting game. His favorite sport was targeting children attempting to hide from the guards. These were acts not merely of murder but of domination, a brutal reminder that their lives hung by the thread of his whims. Nameless victims. Every day in Plasso brought new atrocities. Prisoners labored under inhumane conditions, building roads from gravestones taken from a Jewish cemetery that Göth had ordered destroyed. Symbols of the past, fragments of human history, were literally trampled under the weight of the war machine. Göth relished organizing cleanup actions, mass executions carried out with surgical precision. The bodies of victims were thrown into mass graves or burned on pyres to erase the evidence. One of the most terrifying locations was the quarry, where prisoners toiled until they dropped dead. It was there that many met their end at Göth's hands, as he shot them for the slightest offense. The dogs of terror. An inseparable part of life in the camp were the dogs Göth trained to maul prisoners on command. The dogs were taught to attack with ruthless precision. Göth watched these brutal assaults with cold indifference or, worse, satisfaction. Prisoners feared the dogs almost as much as they feared him. The fall of the Executioner of Plasso. As the war drew to a close, German authorities began noticing that Göth was not only a sadist but also a corrupt official who exploited camp resources for personal gain. In 1944, he was arrested by the SS for embezzlement, ironically marking the beginning of his downfall. After the war, Amon Göth was captured by the Allies and tried for war crimes. During his trial, survivors recounted the unimaginable suffering he inflicted. In 1946, he was sentenced to death and hanged in Krakow. The legacy of horror. Amon Göth's story leaves an indelible scar on the memory of humanity. His cruelty in Plasso was not merely the result of fanatical ideology but also a deranged psyche that took pleasure in others' suffering. The testimonies of witnesses and historical accounts serve as reminders of the horror that became a reality for thousands of people. Although Plasso no longer exists as a camp, it remains a symbol of the dark times when a man could become the executioner of his fellow human beings with unimaginable cruelty. The tale of Göth is a story of a monster in human form, a reminder of the importance of never forgetting the lessons of the past. His life and actions stand as a warning of what humanity is capable of when empathy and morality are stripped away. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe, it helps me grow this channel. See you next time.